Apparently the world is flat, you know. It's on YouTube.
Well, that too.
Yeah.
That's probably that's the one thing he hasn't mentioned that is real.
Have you ever believed a conspiracy? Have you
No.
genuinely got into a conspiracy theory?
Never.
Really?
I mean, I think they're really entertaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean,
Have you ever watched any of the 9/11 ones? They've gone into. I mean,
do you know, the one that gets me is all the David Icke ones.
I haven't seen those.
Yeah, he's nuts.
I've had an interview with David Icke.
Have
once.
you?
Yeah. But anyway, you took me. What you
Yeah,
think of David Icke.
he lives.
That sounds
down-
like a conspiracy.
He lives on the Isle of Wight, and
Yeah.
that's where my brother is as well. And my brother's followed him around Morrison's
Okay.
before now. So
Yeah. Is
Yeah,
your
just
brother
to see.
is your brother a lizard?
Well, yeah, got to look out for the little sideways,
But
lizard eyes or
he's
whatever.
I went for a job interview about whenever he was starting a TV station. I don't know if you remember, but he was involved in some TV station called The People's Voice. I think it was around 2012. There was a lot of noise going around 2012, wasn't there, about all kinds of conspiracies. We had the Mayan calendar, all the woo-woo circle. No offense to the woo-woo circle, but they were like the age of Aquarius, blah blah blah. So there's a lot of kind of the universe is just about to change. Sorry, this is going down, isn't it? And and then he announced he was starting a TV station, and and I was like, yeah, I'll have some of that. It was just like, we're looking for producers, engineers, blah blah blah, all kinds of stuff. And
How many years
I
ago
needed
was
a bit
this?
of money. I think it was around 2012. So it's
Oh,
when I had
right,
my
okay.
studio in Acton.
Yeah.
It was when it was that one, and then and I remember thinking, all right, well, if there's some money, I can get involved in it. And I was thinking, People's Voice sounds kind of nice, sounds a bit kind of folksy, and
back in 2012,
back in 20
People's Voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah,
And then I ended up going for this interview, and it was as soon as it kind of it was very simple to get an interview. I literally email us, tell us what you do, kind of produce music. I'm good with sound engineering. If you guys need any help with production, great. Come and see us on Wednesday 6 p.m.
Really?
Like, okay, cool.
Shit.
And then I ended up going to, and it was in Wembley. They'd hired out the 8th floor on this little horrible block in Wembley. I can't remember where it was. And I ended up going there. And then when I ended up going into the kind of the studio, it was just like an open plan office. Obviously, they just hired out the 8th floor, and there was a lot of interesting people there. And then there was kind of like this little couch where we were all kind of all the next tranche of kind of people offering their skills, were sat down, and like we were kind of sat down there, and everyone had some form of something. I'm not quite sure if it was autism, but if I was guessing, there was some form of something with everyone. There was a massive awkwardness. It might as well be in a room full of musicians. Same thing goes on, right? But like it was just like a bunch of weirdos, and we were all kind of there.
Not saying that people with autism are weirdos.
Hell's no.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't even know what you're talking about because I cut that out earlier. So
I just brought it up from nowhere.
Shit, right? But like, I've ended up like. We've ended up being sat there for an hour or so, and then there was these 2 Californians. That's right. There was like a brother and a sister, which we later found out, but they were 2 weirdo hippie Californians, kind of a lot of charm bracelets and ornaments like dangling around them and stuff like that. And they were like, "Hey guys, thanks so much for coming in. Thanks for giving." I can't do.
Were they the ones like coordinating the interviews?
I think so. So it was very vague as to who was in charge and what was going on, but these guys came up and they were like, "We're going to go see you guys in a minute. We're just finishing up some stuff there. There's people working on desks, and then just nothing's really going on." And then we waited there for about half an hour, and then they kind of brought us into this side room, and there was about 6 of us lined up like that, and we were all sat along the chairs. And then the two Californians came in and went, thank you so much, really overly nice again. And then everyone was kind of sitting there waiting. Then we go, so what we thought, we don't want this to be like an interview process. We're just going to keep it really informal. We're just going to go down the line. Everyone just talk about themselves. Let's just, just talk about yourself and we'll just get a sense and we'll just all have a conversation and blah, 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 And everyone was like, okay. And then it started down the line. Like, I think I was 4 down the line. And they've started sort of like people started talking and going, yeah, my name's Jake. I do a bit of kind of cabling and stuff like that. I thought, there's kind of David Icke in it. I thought I'd help out.
Did you know at this point it's David Icke?
Yeah, the David Icke affiliation was there as the big selling point right at the beginning of this, yeah, and. In fact, just before this, he had come in. He had walked in and he had a big smile on his face. Because you see him on any news, on any kind of content, he's fucking angry, right? And he was fucked over by everyone, especially Terry Wogan. He's angry, right? So, but then we saw him and he'd come in and he's obviously in a he's on home turf. There's a new bunch of people. He's the face of it, and he was super warm, super like, "Hi guys, nice to meet you." Eye contact with everyone, and then kind of walked off and done his thing. And then anyway, so we were in this room, going down the line, and everyone's kind of like having, everyone's just kind of just doing this very mini statement on themselves. And as the third guy down the line. No. I think I was the third guy down the line. It was literally as the person passed me, the guy next to me kind of was like, all right, my name's John and I've worked in, and he's like, what's that? And he's kind of stopped himself and gone, what's that? As he's in mid-conversation, we're all kind of like looking at him. And she's like, nothing. And he's going, is it a, what are you doing with that? And then we're all kind of like, what's going on here? And he has spotted
strapping one on.
She's got a strap on. She's behind her brother.
Oh,
it's
right.
really
I
strange.
See.
Like that, and she's basically and he has spotted that she's kind of like sitting here with a cross-legged, and she's got a pendulum. What are they called? When you're dowsing, is that what it's called? Yeah, well, the new age people do
like a dowsing rod.
Yeah, she's got a crystal on the end of a on the end of a chain.
Okay,
I don't know what it's called. Excuse my new age ignorance.
I have no idea. I know what you mean.
You know what I mean, though, right?
Crystal on a bit of thing.
She's got a crystal on the end of a chain, and as she's been questioning us, she's been getting answers of this crystal, right? That's what's going on, right? and John. The dude next to me is like literally gone, yeah, hi, I'm John, and blah, blah, blah. What's that? What are you doing? And she's like, oh, nothing. And then she's kind of had to declare it and go, it's just my crystal, and blah, blah, blah. And then it's turned awkward because everyone's just like, ugh. She's been asking us questions, and then she's been, like, the thing is, like, if you believe in that stuff, fair enough. Like, you do your thing, you do you. I'm cool with that. Mm-hmm. But essentially, when you're in an interview, there is some form of kind of the premise of the premise of being in an interview is for you to be there and judged, but essentially it's judged on merit, right? Yeah. So you kind of accept the whole kind of the idea, the architecture of an interview. It's kind of like, I'm coming in here to prove my worth to you, and it's an open thing, and we're putting it on the table and we're discussing that. That was different. It was like, hey man, let's just have a conversation, and then it was just the same judgment, but it wasn't based on merit. It's based on some fucking
made up shit in our head.
Whatever. I don't want to malign people who kind of believe in that stuff, but
I kind of do.
Yeah, but like it was just kind of it felt dishonest. Yeah, and I just and actually it was like really kind of like and she felt caught out to the point where she had to go, oh no, it's cool guys, like, and it was just kind of like not cool.
So they didn't hire you, obviously.
I didn't get the gig.
Why did they say?
It's because I went out and I kind of drop kicked David Icke. No, I don't know. I don't think there was. I think like the interesting thing that you've met Zaki, haven't you? Yeah, you know Zaki, right? Video.
Yeah.
So just by chance, you haven't met Zaki, right? So Zaki is just a very talented young kid, videographer, director. He's doing a lot of good stuff at the moment. And back then, I think independently, I got to know him through the studio, like I was working out of. That was when working with Terry and everyone back then. So he kind of knew that circle. And then independently, he'd gone and approached the People's Voice at the beginning stage. And I think there was just no follow-up. I can't remember if I didn't specifically get a job. It was kind of like, okay, let's figure out how we can use your services. We'll be in touch. And then when I caught up with him and I understood that he'd gone in and he'd done some production work there, and it was just like, the whole place is a fucking mess. They're public, they've got kind of crowdfunding money, and there's a bit of money coming in from somewhere. It's not clear. Everyone in charge is like, hey man, this is the People's Voice. We're doing this in solidarity and blah blah blah. And can you work for free? And the money will be coming. And it was quite a mess. Perhaps it wasn't like completely dishonest in intent, but the effect was the same. They were just like stiffing everyone who was working for them. And then very early into it, because I kind of was like, I liked it on Facebook just to kind of keep an eye. Like they launched it, and then it was like, we're going to be blowing the lid off everything in the world. And then within a year, this thing had fucking fallen on its ass. David Icke had a massive fight with whoever the money was coming from, and it all fallen on its ass. And now they're just like a right wing kind of clickbait trigger kind of website. I think if they're even still going. So, yeah. That's my experience of David Icke.
Though.
Actually, that's my second experience of David Icke.
There were two? Oh, there's this other one,
Yeah, the other one was like my mate Dino rang me up.
Good old Dino.
Dino is Sweet Dino, as we call him. So Sweet Dino, he gives me a call out of the blue. I haven't heard from him for ages. And he was like, do you want to go see David? David Icke. So it was like the Bilderberg group. That was right.
Right. Yeah.
So this was a couple of years after this, right? I will give way in a minute, because this is genuinely why I was asking if you believed in conspiracies, because I don't think I ever have, but I've like you, I find them wildly entertaining.
Oh yeah, they're incredibly entertaining,
and I love being near the circus of it all. And like this was an opportunity to do that. The Bilderberg group were coming over in 2012. It might have been around the same time, 2012, 2014, 13, 14. And they were going to be in Watford. They were in the UK.
Of course they would be.
So it was the UK version of the Bilderberg.
Yeah.
And Watford is the hotspot of Illuminati activity.
Obviously, Watford.
Sure.
I mean, who would have thought Watford? Which is the point, right?
Watford?
That is the point. Watford.
What? The what is in the name. Watford.
The what is the why.
They're fucking clever, those Illuminati, aren't they?
They are.
They're illuminated, you might say.
So running the word.
They were running. So that was what was happening that year. And then Sweet Dino's phoned me up. He's like, the Bilderberg group thing's happening. Do you want to go down? And I was like, I haven't seen you for 7 years. Yes, obviously. And I was like, you look, dude, you had me at Alex Jones. Right? And that was it. We were in the car and we went down to this thing. And what they'd done is, because they knew there was a lot of activity, people were going to be going down there and marching on, en masse. It was a private hotel. It was a really big swanky hotel, as they always are, but it was private land, and the police literally, because the hotel were trying to get it shut down, and the police were freaking out because they were like, there's no footpaths here. This is all literally when you come around the M25 and I think it's the 412. It's all dual carriageway with grass verges.
Yeah,
and they're like, we don't want shitloads of people marching around here. You guys better allocate some space, because we ain't just gonna get the whole police force out here.
Right.
And deal with everyone. Just do, come meet us halfway and do something. And I think they had like a little side pen green, which could fit maybe 200, 300 people in it. and they allowed for the protests to happen there, and that's where all the speakers were going to be speaking, and Alex Jones was down, David Icke was down, and blah blah blah. There was loads of people speaking out in the Bilderberg group, while all the Bilderbergers were in just going in and having a swanky dinner and chatting about how they're going to run the world. And we all parked up, and we were kind of, and I think Dean and I were lucky enough to be there at the time where we got into the little field, and we watched a couple of kind of lectures. Alex Jones we saw, who was fucking amazing. Like, he was literally like, they're shooting cancer into you, they're shooting cancer into you, they're shooting. Like, he was just doing his thing and just like having a massive rant, and it was fun. It was so fun. But we were kind of done after about an hour and a half. Then we were like, should we go? And it was like, yeah. And we kind of left everyone to it. And then we were heading back to the car. And then it was super sweet because this is what, like, I genuinely have got something, like, I always see David Icke angry on clips. But the 2 times I've seen him, he's been really sweet. Because what had happened was, I think he'd done his lecture. We weren't around when he got up on the stage to talk about stuff. And then what he ended up doing was, we walking back to the car, and there was just a little green grass verge, and he was standing on the top of it, and there was probably about 50 people gathered in the street, and a couple of policemen trying to keep him not from spilling into the road. And he was just having a chat, doing a sermon on the mound. It was really poetic. It was beautiful, and he had this piece on him because he was, again, I think it was that home crowd thing. He's listening to people who would listen to him, and he was just talking. And actually, I seem to remember he wasn't doing the whole kind of like lizards, they're out to drink your blood kind of thing. I think he was, at the point we passed him, he was having a conversation about love, right, or something like that. It was really quite beautiful. And he was just standing on the mount above everyone else, just as everyone else was kind of like listening to him. And me and Sweet Dino were like, that's really beautiful. Let's get the fuck out of it.
Where does the sweet come from?
I call him Sweet Dino because that's how I think of him. He often gets likened to what's that guy's name? Elf. Will Ferrell.
Right.
Oh, right.
He looks like he's an English Will Ferrell.
Right.
And he's a sweet boy.
Nice.
Yeah.
What are some of your favourite conspiracy theories then?
Well, you know what? Actually, in a moment, I can't get my head around. Every time I hear the word Bilderberg Group, I just see Build-A-Bear. That's actually just really,
as in
just
those things you make at Christmas.
Yeah, those things you make.
Someone,
You go to the Build-A-Bear thing.
Yeah.
Build-A-Bear.
Maybe
Build-A-Bear.
have they got some
I never
kind
heard
of
that. What's a Build-A-Bear?
camera in the top of their their head? It's watching you.
Yeah, that's what it is. Yeah.
Happy
Build-A-Bear.
Christmas, my dear. In Happy Birthday. Oh.
Oh,
Some sort of robot.
spooky.
That's my favourite conspiracy theory right there.
Build-A-Bear
is really
the Bilderberg Group.
Yeah.
I think we're going to start that one now.
Do they
Going to make that a
publish?
thing.
Do they publish members?
I think so. I was going down your conspiracy. I was just imagining you pulling out a camera.
Yeah, exactly.
And then just seeing a PC,
yeah.
seeing a PC board and going in close at it and reading COVID in the circuit board.
yeah. Every now and again,
Could
it just
happen.
lets out the gas. Yeah. I think my favourite, I know you're not going to ask me, but my favourite would be the 9/11 one where
Greg,
they
what's
talk
your
about the Twin
favourite one?
Towers.
Oh, Twin Towers.
Because there's so much room for creative license on how that happened.
As sad
And so much time.
As sad as that event was, and it obviously is, it's fucking awful and set a lot of awful events off as well. Like, that is probably the most delicious conspiracy theory out of everything. I think.
Well, it was just surprising that they fell down. That was the thing. But then when you had...
Surprised, were you?
Very.
Well, I don't know. I mean, like when you fly a jumbo jet into something, I mean, generally that's like...
Yeah.
It's not a jumbo, okay. It was
I think it
quite
was
a
just...
big jet still, passenger thing, wasn't it? You know?
Because I watched like about half an hour of about a 2-hour documentary that these people had made about how it was, it was a conspiracy. And then I watched a program on scientists disproving that film, and they were going, do you know what? A couple of points of this legitimately could be explained by what they're saying, but actually, when you piece it all together, there is a reason, an engineering reason why the towers fell the way they did, just due to the construction and the way that the floors were put together. But they were saying like a couple of the points on there, you could actually like, if you had, you could legitimately
find flaws in them.
Yeah.
So I mean, because the biggest one is controlled demolition, and the second
with this
one,
stuff is you go back to it and you go, well, why the fuck would they do that? Like, there are sick people in the world. One of them's running the United States, but like they ain't gonna do that. Why would they want to hurt so many people? They're so dumb.
Had an incident. He used to go to this class, and he found that most of the people in this class, he got on really well with them, and then the subject came up one day and it was about flat Earth. He found that they all believed in
what class were they taking?
We'll say an exercise class.
Oh, okay.
Okay, a sports related activity. Anyway,
okay.
They're all
like sports related.
No, no, actual sports.
Oh, okay.
I'm trying to be like,
It sounded a bit sordid.
Yeah,
way you said it.
That's the way I say it. But yeah, no, it's not really. It was, anyway, so he was asking them about this. So what, you think the Earth is flat? So yeah, so okay, well, all right. I think his dad was like a test pilot in an Air Force, European Air Force somewhere.
Pretty serious.
So he flew really high up, and he could see the curve of the Earth.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you explain that? These people, in this class turn around and say, "No, mate, it's Jewish Hollywood, bruv. It's Jewish Hollywood."
Is it?
Well, that's a sign off, isn't it?
And it's just, at what point how?
That's it.
It's funny, isn't it? I've met the most interest. I suppose that's the thing. Like my circle of friends is like-minded and kind of. Well, I suppose that's how friends work, right? We all you meet friends through mutual friends, and you've all got your own similar sensibilities and kind of dispositions, and they all kind of link up. So the only time I've not had experiences in school where you're kind of actually that's not true. I was going to say where you're kind of put together with all different types of people and harboring different types of attitudes.
Mm-hmm.
And I suppose work possibly allows for that. I suppose creative industries not so much, and you're obviously in the creative industries. Every time we do stuff in the creative industries, similar kind of mindsets and liberal tendencies, but you come up with those challenging or different kind of attitudes when you're in a work environment.
Yeah.
And I'm talking like office. I'm thinking back to some of my office jobs and things like that, where you're just in amongst a bunch of people.
I have
and then there's
with crazy
someone
people.
Casually racist, someone casually sexist, someone kind of overtly like either of the two, and whatever, mad Tory people, mad left wing people. It doesn't matter. There's a hodgepodge of everyone that you get stuck with, and I think it's really interesting because I quite like it. I wasn't forced to. I've been away from having to be in proximity and forced into proximity with other people who aren't in my kind of similar kind of social overlap kind of interests and ideas. Like I was forced to do that about 3 or 4 years ago when I'd done like a Cisco course, like just trying to get some qualification so I can get some work of some sort, right? And And I was just, again, and that was it. I was in a, so it was reminding me of this experience where you're in a room full of people who are just anyone out there, and all of a sudden you're hearing stuff that's kind of like, I'm not ever challenged with hearing that kind of shit because, you know, generally everyone I know in my circles are kind of similar minded, and I'm hearing some bullshit coming right from your mouth right now, and wow, I'm in the proximity of that again. And I remember this course was hilarious. The guy who was taking it was very right wing, and I thought it was great because, like, as soon as we started talking about politics, and he was quite he's a really smart bloke. As soon as we started talking about politics, I think he was openly trying to have a conversation, to invite a conversation, just to kind of get everyone to kind of put their politics on the table, while he was kind of being a bit reserved and playing his cards to his chest and not revealing where he was. Turns out he was pretty right wing, right? And but the wonderful thing about that whole experience for me was, like, by the end of the week, like, I ended up really liking him, like, and that was good for me. Like, I just remember thinking,
what was this, like, Goose Step March College? Or
he was just like staunch. He was staunch right wing, like, and I suppose his idea of just society, like, you know, he was like diehard Tory. I'm Tory till I die. Like, when he was comfortable declaring that, he was doing that. Which is fine. If you're Tory till you die, I know loads of good people who are Tory till they die, and I can understand the reason why they are. Yeah. And it's just that, because that whole
everyone's individual as well, and that's
that whole beautiful interpretation of what the Tories think they represent. That whole kind of you can pull yourself up by your bootstraps. You can be anything you want. You know, meritocracy will get, you know, your merit. You can earn anything in this society you want from your own merit. That beautiful lie that they kind of lead with is the thing that, like, is really actually quite fair.
Bullshit. It's such.
Hey,
bullshit.
look, I'm not saying.
Finally, he's letting his right wing. His like, right wing sleeves down. No. Finally,
I'm not declaring any of my own. I'm not declaring any of my own kind of, like, personal attitudes on this. What I'm saying is I can understand those attitudes. There are attitudes in the Tory ethos, the said Tory ethos, right? What's actuality and said Tory ethos is two different things, right? There are aspects of that which everyone I will just kind of be okay with, and so I can understand the vast swathes of Joe Public subscribing to it and going, that's what it says on the tin, and that's kind of how I believe. And I suppose when you're asking me where he was just, he believed that line, and he believed that was where it was, and he believed that's kind of how society works. I don't think anything
kind of is at the moment, isn't it?
Well, it is where it is now, yeah. I mean, but, like, it was, the whole point was, like, regardless of whatever the kind of differences were, he was very intelligent. He's doing cybersecurity. I don't know what the fuck I ended up doing on that course. It was a complete accident while I was there. And then, but, like, he's very good at that. He's got his own views on society, which are kind of, like, regardless of whether you think they're wrong or right, they're well invested in. He spent a lot of time thinking about politics and society in the way it should be, so that has some points to someone, right? So, and then he was funny. Like, we there was some good wit going on, and ultimately that's kind of like a good go-to for me. Like, if I generally, if someone's witty, like, let's start there, and then, like, you know, we were having a really good laugh in the pub on that last day, and I just remember thinking, I'm going to stay in touch with you. I think some good's going to come of it.
What's he doing now?
Fuck knows. I hate that cunt. When do you think you developed your tinnitus?
In Fulham in about 2005. No, I've developed it over the years. I've been a drummer and I was an absolute dick.
Can you remember a time where it kicked in? I presume you've got tinnitus.
Yeah, but then I had tinnitus before I knew what tinnitus was because I
Really?
lived near Heathrow Airport.
Did you? What?
Yeah,
when were you
definitely. I
first
remember
conscious of
I
having
remember it as a
tinnitus?
kid because of the aircraft
Really?
coming over. Yeah,
Really? Because of the aircraft?
seriously. Yeah, I remember it even then. It's like there's
Where
like
did you
little
live?
moments of
Like you what at Cranford?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, it's right under the flight path of Cranford.
It really was.
That's the
Remember, we used to
last
go right
town.
over
That was the
park, didn't it?
last. That's the last kind of veal just before it hits the runway, right?
Yeah,
If
because
it's
that's
flying
where.
in from the if it's flying in from the
Because
west.
there's the one
East,
coming in
sorry.
through because they
that's
still
right,
fly over
yeah.
Hounslow, I
Yeah.
think, but Cranford because they used to have that other runway, the north one, and well, not north one. There's one that kind of cuts across both, and he used to sort of fly over that tower in Southall, that sort of water tank.
Oh yeah,
and he used to
yeah.
come straight through there.
So that's literally like going from the north. That's the north approach to the what was that was the runway. It was called that, wasn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
it's a north approach, but it's not because there's a north runway, which is the one that. They
but then
use,
you
but
you
they didn't use that.
and Cranford is literally the last veal.
Yeah,
They're about 80.
Why did you
I
say
don't know why I
veal
keep-
twice as well?
Does
Wait, by the
veal
way.
does veal mean like village in French, or does it mean veal like
veal is
veal's also?
Yes.
You thought I was talking about calf, like a calf that was reared to produce a
you
white
started
steak.
talking about rearing calves. I never talked about that, but no. What sounded weird is that you were saying veal,
It's true.
but it's the last town. It's basically the last
Veal.
buildings. The buildings closest to the runway, and isn't that if I'm not wrong,
Well,
where that plane would have crashed? You know, the one that ran out of fuel, where both engines.
Oh,
stopped?
that was the Concorde.
That
wasn't it?
hero pilot that fucking no, it's the 777 that came from China, where the I watched that air crash investigations.
Oh, I feel like I should have known about this, but I don't.
and
Was there
the
one in-
fuel froze because it was flying really high.
The
Coming back,
fuel
yeah, the
froze.
fuel froze, and in parts, like particles of it. It was a really interesting documentary.
You watch some interesting stuff.
I watch air crash investigation before I get on a flight. I'm a bit weird like that.
Yeah.
But anyway,
And then
I was
you watch
watching this,
and
and
you
then
watch a 9/11
No, no.
documentary while you're on it.
yeah,
Brilliant.
I'm in the Twin Towers. Yeah, I was watching it, and it was really interesting how they found it out, because they couldn't replicate it. They were like, when the plane crash landed, they were like, okay, let's look at the engines. They're fine. Let's look at the fuel system. It's fine. Like, they couldn't figure it out. But then it happened again, or they reproduced it in cold temperatures, and they figured out that the fuel crystallized the small bits of water, and it blocked the fuel filter where the fuel comes through. So it stopped the fuel, and so cut out the engine. But what was amazing was the pilot that was landing the plane, as he was coming over the last veal before Heathrow, which I believe is Cranbrook. Would that be it?
Cranford.
Oh yeah.
Cranford.
Cranford, the last veal.
Well,
Yeah, Cranford, the last veal in brackets. ...
it would have been Colnbrook with that one
Oh, you see. Well, there you go.
because it would have come in that side because that's where that crash was.
Chinese.
Yeah. So and what happened was the pilot made this last minute decision that is against the handbooks. But he was like a gliding.
But he was like
he was
about to
some
die.
gliding fucking dude, and he was like, "Gotta fucking save this shit because we're all gonna die."
Yeah.
He made whatever change he did to the plane, and it meant that it glided just like 100 meters further, just over the runway threshold or whatever it's called,
Got ya.
and didn't land in the buildings. The guy
So
was
you
like
managed to.
split second, boff, do that, and he did it.
Yeah, I bet I
It's a
knew.
bit like Sully.
I knew what he done. He probably done a nosedive to pick up speed, and then he pulled it up like you do on a BMX at the last minute,
He
just
got
to
some
get a skid.
flaps. He got flaps out.
Yeah,
I reckon that's what he did.
I probably would have done the same.
Yeah, but it's so amazing
There
that yeah, I just found that just incredible.
It is incredible. I mean, fuck me. I
No one died.
hate to be that.
No one died.
I'd hate to be in that situation, or in Cranford.
In both situations.
Yeah.
I left. So you know,
Well done.
What's Cranford like?
I'm actually 22.
Are you just not counting those years of your life? Is that what it is?
Yeah, you minus from the middle.
I love it.
Minus from the beginning.
You're like, no, and minus 2020 as well. That you got to delete that one off your record.
Well, when did you leave Cranford? Because
Not soon enough.
Yeah.
because we grew up in the same area, right? Roland
Yeah.
and I. We went to the same school. You left when?
I didn't. I was in my some point in my 20s. I can't remember exactly.
Do you remember how happy you were?
I was happier. That's the important thing.
Okay.
Rather than being less happy.
Yeah.
I think I might go back. You know.
Wow.
But I think.
Where did you move to? The east?
Yes.
That's so funny. So you were like, I'm going to go try the opposite side to see what happens there.
What made you decide the East then?
Really, probably because I think there were people I knew.
Right.
Okay.
Where did you live? Where was the first, like, as in who with and why?
Leighton.
Leighton.
Oh, you
really?
were straight in, balls deep.
Gosh.
Okay, and then was that?
Yeah. Okay. Wow.
So that was post university.
So this was
actually, this is the weird thing though, because I went to university late.
Oh, I did not know that.
Yeah, I went to because I never went in my 20s.
So Leighton was the next Veal that you lived in.
Yeah, I'd worked in a lot of really bad jobs for a long time.
So you were
in West London.
I did not. I just assumed after school you went straight to university.
No, I went to Wat College, and then I got offered a good place at a really good university doing something really cool, which I couldn't take up because I didn't have any money. And
which college did you go to? Sorry,
I went to West Thames doing fine art, and then I was supposed to go off to Reading University.
Yeah,
and do fine art at Reading, which would have been like about 1990. What was that? 95, I suppose. It would have been in the end. So I would have been in Reading in 1995.
Oh, great year place. For that.
Yeah, great place to be.
Great lineup.
Yeah.
But then you couldn't.
It all kind of fell apart because of money.
Because of money.
Cash.
Yeah.
And it was a very expensive 5-year-long course as well.
5 years.
Oh, yeah. 5 years. What was that doing? Fine art.
Fine art. They it's a good course.
And what is a placement part of that as well then, or something?
Why
do they keep you there for 5 years?
Re-educate you. It's
interesting.
Like everything you've learned is wrong. Start again.
Oh, right. Okay.
That's basically what they start you almost. Well, they start you from scratch. They start you from what you would be learning if you're on a kind of foundation access course to go to university.
Well, to make sure that you're trained correctly throughout it.
Yeah, they go back to teaching you how to draw
Nice.
from the start,
Okay.
and then which I thought it's actually kind of a great idea. It's they sort of get very involved in what goes on, but. Anyway, that didn't happen. So, I ended up working in factories, and first job was in a factory in Feltham, and
nice.
It was absolutely
the only place worse than Cranford.
Do you know what? There was one point, right? I was working for the same company, and they sent me. I ended up. Oh, good God! I worked at Gillette.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up working at Gillette. And
the razor company.
I was basically making razors, and oh man, I
try not to.
I mean, the temptation is like, fucking hell, just let it end.
Yeah. Oh, you've known it, right? Basically, I walked into this job. What was that? I'm trying to remember the situation. I think it was I'd been in this other company, and I've been working for like a couple of years, and we were making like propellers for boats.
That sounds fucking awesome.
But you're doing stuff like that, and you're also making like the little widgets they have in the top of sort of beer kegs,
Oh,
like
yeah.
It's like a little machine thing that's kind of made in one part almost, CNC. So, I was there for a while doing this stuff, and it was dull as shit job. So I started. That was around the time I started writing music in my head. So I'd have a rehearsal, and it's like, okay, I'm going to do this thing. So, and literally just sort of humming stuff and then trying to work out what the progression would be and what would come next and all. So that was all going on. So this job was so monotonous. But anyway, eventually this company kind of went under, like a lot of companies did. Manufacturing moves outside of the UK and all these places start to close. So I ended up at Gillette, and the first job they gave me, I lasted 2 days at this place, because it was like the first day was like induction, and their second day was at least I've turned up on time and whatever. And then it was, and I remember being on the phone to, I think I was working through an agency at that point. And I said, like, you got to get me out of here, because like the job that they gave me to do was in the machine that grinds the razor blades. It's basically, you had a stick, and you'd, like, occasionally when it was going through, the razor blades going through, they get stuck.
Right.
So you had to kind of get them out, and this razor blade would go off somewhere.
You had to dislodge razor blades.
Dislodging razor blades from this machine.
Was.
That sounds dodgy.
It was horrible.
Fucking
and
hell.
The worst thing was, I was working with doing this.
That
and
actually freaks me out.
There was a guy I was working with whose job, I think he'd been in this job for years,
and he had 2 fingers.
He actually, he had a few, like, he was a bit scratchy. He had a few scratches.
Right.
But the one thing was, in the time I was working with, he was just like, like when you're working with someone, they're sold. They're just.
Yeah.
And
I don't know. I respect that, because I did a job as a security guard for about 5 hours, and then I was like, called them up and I went, sorry, I can't do this anymore. They were like, you can't cancel because you are looking after this building site. And I was like, no, I'm not actually. I'm gonna fucking leave. This is literally the worst experience of my life. And I remember saying to the person on the phone, like, because I was at uni, but I had I'd spent all the money. Because no grants or anything like that. There was no money. No fucking money. My parents had no money. So that was that. And I remember saying to the guy, like, this has just made me realise I really need to try at uni.
That's actually...
like, instead of getting fucked up every night like an absolute wanker like I was.
It's so difficult.
I now realise why I don't want to do these jobs. Like, you've made me realise, so thank you. He's like, you can't leave the site. I was like, watch me, mate. What you going to do?
Watch me go to university.
Yeah, I'm going to go. But I guess what I get from that is, like, some people are fucking amazing at how they can zen out.
Yeah.
And deal with that monotony or with that boredom or whatever it may be. Probably being a security guard now, you're just like fucking Facebook.
No, you definitely have some inequality that allows you to do that. Like, I feel the same thing. I actually find it admirable, because I just, the most dullest thing I ever done was I think I worked for DHL in Feltham, like for 1 week, and I lasted 1 week, and then I told the agency I'm not going back there, because I was the person they gave. My job was they had a big massive stack of paper, and this is how long ago it was, paper way bills, and they all had 16-digit numbers on them. And I was given all the way bills that hadn't gone into the computer with the correct number, and I had to manually go through one and type 16-digit numbers, then put it in the out pile, and then just do it. And I had a stack of bills, and all that would happen every day as I'm doing this really boring job, 16 digits, was someone else would bring in a new watch. My in tray would never get smaller. It was demoralizing, and I remember just lasting a week on that. And I was telling the agency, I can't go back on this. Like, I mean, this didn't happen to me, but like the best story I've got of someone doing a job that sounds fucking horrific is my mate Stuart, who I used to work with back in my telecoms firm. Really sweet guy. He was like ex-forces, came out of I think he was in the army, came out of the army, didn't have a job immediately, was like trying to get back into civvy life or joined a temping agency, and they were sending him on like crap shit, and he was kind of complaining about it and going, come on, just get me I want a permanent job, just find me something appropriate. They're like, yeah, we'll do it, just got this weak hair, and he'd have to go and do something stupid, and he'd had 3 or 4 weeks of it. And then they were kind of like, the agent phoned him up and she's like, listen, I've got something. I'm warning you now. You're going to tell me no. And he was like, no, I'm not doing it. And she was like, look, you're going to tell me no, but we're going to pay you really well. And if you do this, I will line up a permanent job for you next week. There won't be any more of this Simpson stuff for you. She goes, oh, I'll do something in the in the back end and sort this out. He's like, no. He goes, what is it? She goes, right. She goes, you won't have to touch it, but it's like...
That's the start. Working for Epstein or something.
You're not going to have to touch it.
Hear this out. She goes, you're not going to have to get near it. She goes, but you're essentially... it's driving one of those trailers and it's emptying out cesspits from people's houses, right? And he was like, no. I'm not doing it, and she begged him. They had a conversation about it, and she must have been.
There's only one guy I can get on this one.
She must have been a real hustler, because he was like, "You're gonna get me a permanent job after this." She was like, "I guarantee I can't get anyone else on this. Can you please, you're a nice guy, help me out here.
Yeah.
This has to be done this week. Yeah, it's 5 days. Blah blah blah. Yeah." So he's ended up going to this job. He's gone there on the Monday morning, and it's basically one of those tankers things. Yeah. And the guy's shown him the crack, and he's like, "Look, here's your gear. Here's your
There's the crack.
Yeah, you get kitted up, whatever." He goes, "It's very simple." He goes, "It's a bunch of kind of private estates where people with loads of money.
Just in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, they've just got cesspits. That's how they evacuate their toilets, and they're sitting at the bottom of the gardens." And
Cranbrook.
No, I don't think it was. It was somewhere really posh. And then he's ended up. He's basically. So the guy's showing him how the tanker works. Drive the tanker around. You pick out the kind of exhaust thing. You literally dangle it into the bottom of the cesspit when you're driving into it. You press the lever, it does the trick. It sucks itself up. You kind of hose it down with some water and then stick it back on the side, and then kind of shake your hands off, and then I'm sure he's kitted up, but and then you go off to the next house.
Wank.
And he had this schedule of houses, right? He's phoned up the agent on the end of the first day. He's like, "I'm not doing this. I can't do it." She's literally twisted his arm by the end of the conversation. She's like, "Please, just do the 5 days." He's done it, right? Just really dutiful, and he's seen it out, and he's ended up doing it. And when he told me this story, I thought, this is the story. This is disgusting enough, right? And then he goes, so on that Friday, I drive it back to the depot, and the guy, he goes, right, you might as well. He goes, it's 3:00. Do you know what? You can get away. And he was like, oh, great. I don't have to be until 5. He goes, just scrub it out, and then you can get away. And he's like, what? He's like, yeah, just. He goes, we it's the end of the week. We always scrub them. You have to scrub it out. And he's like, what the fuck?
Yeah.
So and then he's ended up apparently this thing pulled out the back or something. So it lifts up, and it's just this internal chamber. And he said he's literally in there with a hazmat suit on.
Oh my God.
and a broom and a fucking hose pipe, and he's just kind of he's literally so just in there with his hazmat suit on, just trying not to get it sounds disgusting, honestly. And I was just
I'm actually feeling a little bit.
I was like, this is vile. And he goes, anyway, the guy's turned up, right? And he goes, I don't know if he was having a laugh or not, and he's kind of had a smile on his face, but he was just like, all right, that'll do. He goes, and I was kind of he goes, there was still shit kind of falling off the. He's like, that'll do. Get out of there, sort of thing. And then he's like, he goes, yeah, but I haven't finished. And he goes, oh, don't worry about it. We're filling up with water now. And he's like, what for? And he's like, oh, he goes, this is going to a film set tomorrow. It's for a rain machine.
Oh my God.
That was it. It was just and he was just like, can you believe that? It's just so vile. And it was just I wonder how many actors got dysentery from that shoot.
Oh my God. Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that's...
Was his permanent job, was that working with you? That was
We-
literally the only step down that he could take.
Yeah, I think his permanent job was after that, working with me.
I hope she sorted in the job.
I hope so. I think she did. I think that was. I think that was the headline. He kind of done a good deed.
But I do think, those kind of experiences are what makes you,
What makes you never do temping jobs again?
Oh God, yeah.
I think it's good to do like various things and learn various things, and as in like
I did work with a
loads
guy.
of different jobs is good.
I did work with a guy who caught his trousers. He was in a. He caught
I like this story
He
already. Go on.
Yeah, he caught his trousers in a lathe.
Oh no,
And
I don't like
and
this
he
story.
was being this is a podcast, he got torsion of the testicles.
No, really?
yeah,
Oh fuck!
that
That doesn't make me happy.
they called him One Pod.
Oh,
that was his
poor
name.
guy.
Shit, mate.
Do you know what?
Where was that?
Hounslow.
Yeah.
Hounslow. Second veal beyond the flight path. Did you remember that kid? There was that kid at school who was, I think he was a year above us, but
Excuse me.
legend has it that he.
Legend has it.
Legend has it he wrote.
The first veal legend.
He ripped his scrotum on climbing over the fence. Can you remember him? Kevin something.
I don't know.
Legend.
No.
Well, that wasn't the legendary bit. The legend was like apparently he ripped his he had such a big scrotum that he caught it going over a fence, and apparently he ripped it open and needed hospital treatment. But the real tragedy was
I just had a cringe moment, like a proper all the way through my body cringe moment. Then
the real
imagining my big scrotum.
Yeah. Apparently, he went and done the same thing 2 months after.
He did it twice.
Yeah, that was what I think.
Are you sure this wasn't just in Viz?
This genuinely was hearsay, and
Yeah.
you know what school hearsay
It was
is.
genuine hearsay.
It was genuine school hearsay, so it must have been a
real.
possibility that someone read it in Viz, probably.
Do you hear about the old headmaster afterwards who, a couple of years later, they had like some kid kick off and he tried to break into the headmaster's office with an axe?
No,
Really?
Yeah.
which headmaster are we talking about?
The one that was coming in after as we were going.
Oh,
His
so
name was his name Target. Strangely enough,
Target?
his
Mr.
name
Target.
was Target.
Target by
Yeah.
name, target by nature.
His name was Target,
His name was Target.
as in like John Target or something.
Oh, something
I
Target.
think it might have been
yeah.
John Target. John Target feels like it
Yeah,
might have
John.
been him.
Did he start up,
Dave,
like,
I
a
don't know.
department
No,
store?
he was
Teacher's
Welsh,
name.
wasn't he? Something
Did he
like
start
that.
a department store in the States?
Oh yeah, I do remember him. Yeah. So who went after him with an axe?
Apparently, one of the students who some kid got suspended
Yeah,
and then came back with an axe.
Christ.
fair enough. There might have been grounds for his suspense. I'm thinking, in the first place.
I think that there's possibly might have been an issue or two with that particular individual.
Perhaps.
Oh,
perhaps.
really?
Yeah.
It was
Sounds like a nice guy.
It was a strange place to go to school.
Was it rough?
It could be. There were some there were some elements. Yeah, it was pretty. Yeah, it was pretty rough. I think it was. You kind of like when you were there though. You just sort of. You get used to
I
it.
suppose you just live in that environment. You're just
Yeah.
in that right. I mean, it's really funny to kind of think. I mean, we were in a West London suburb, and I was talking to you about this a couple of weeks ago, and like it was predominantly working class and a big kind of Indian kind of the sons and daughters of immigrants who which is my demographic. But there was just this massive thing, but everyone generally there was a big working class vibe. It was pretty standard comprehensive, nothing special going on, and it was pretty much kind of like low aspirational teaching going on as well. I love some of my teachers. Like I have got love for a couple of my teachers there, like and you know, like my English teachers, Mrs. Statters, Miss Loudon, who I was in love with, and
Everybody
then there was
was in
like
love with Miss
and
Loudon.
Why were they in love with her?
she was just so pretty.
Really?
She was.
Mine was Miss Davison, so I know what you mean.
Yeah.
I just wanted to like.
And
Was that because she was young-ish, like as in 23 or 4 or 5 or something?
She was just pretty. She was so pretty.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I just, and I remember just being in love with her.
Have you looked her up since?
I haven't, but I actually lived not too far away from our house.
Oh,
Back then.
Yeah.
Where she was living back then, and we
Yeah.
know about it because
Yes,
when we
yeah.
got into the sixth
We were in
form,
the sixth form.
and we went to the
ended up in
party.
a party, didn't we?
yeah, you came to.
I bet she totally regretted that.
Of course, like there was like a bunch of 16-year-olds. Ozzy was vomiting up on the front door. Simi was upstairs in the bath puking up and like.
Oh, I threw up that night as well.
I
But
can't.
not in the house. I did leave first. I think I left like.
I mean,
pretty
you know,
sharp. It's
like,
just like
Yeah,
there's
you-
things she
this-
can't do.
this-
Yeah.
No.
I mean, when was that? That was probably 90, right? 1990. When we were in the sixth form, and like, you can't get away with that shit now. The teacher's going to
91.
invite all.
I don't. Oh,
16-year-olds.
She had them to her house.
We were in her house, 16-year-olds,
Whoa!
drinking,
Shit, the fucking bed.
and she had a
Definitely
really hot housemate. The blonde lady.
I totally don't remember that.
I do. I was just like, I was there.
Did
I was
she-
totally in love with Miss Loudon, and then all of a sudden she had this really hot blonde, and I had to go into another room
that is
because
so
I was just so
bad.
confused. I was like, I don't know who I'm in love with. You know, when you're 16 and you're just like,
And there's
I was just having this
everyone
angst.
else is barfing everywhere.
Every-
Fucking
and then
hell.
there's
I mean, that
people-
is so bad now. I mean, you would know. Your other half is a teacher of high school students. Like,
Yeah.
how, I mean,
It's
do they get
complete-
invited over all the time? I mean,
No, there's like. Do you know what? That would be.
that is so
unacceptable.
so bad.
That would be. Yeah.
I think
Did
it's back-
did anyone get in there with her?
No.
No, God, no. I mean, she wasn't mental. Like, but
No,
she,
but you never know. You never know.
I
you know.
not as far as I know.
She
She
was
married
pretty
another
mental
teacher.
to invite a load of
Yeah, but this
16-year-old
is-
kids.
this is
to
back in
her
the day.
She married. Do you remember that teacher?
She married. Yeah, she got. Did she marry Mr. Greaves?
It was Mr. Greaves.
Was it Mr. Greaves?
Was it Greaves?
There's always a
It was
Greaves.
Mr.
Yeah, he was
Greaves.
like he was a bit.
He was northern. He was kind of handsome and kind of a bit macho. He had kind of foppish hair, and she was so gonna go
He had
for
that
him.
awful-
I fucking knew it the
he-
moment I saw him.
It was sort of like a buff kind of 90s new
Was he
man
PE
vibe
teacher?
about
He was-
him.
he
You know,
was-
when you just
Was he
kind
PE
of,
teacher?
like
He might as well have
sensitive
been.
new age man, you know.
Yeah.
It's
He
a
was
little bit
probably
of that about
science or something, but he was fucking.
He's
He
probably
could have
a
been
lovely
anyone he
man,
wanted
but,
to
you know.
be.
Obviously, everyone hated him. because,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know,
And then
No, not
they
everyone.
ended up together, and
Fuck's sake.
it's fine.
we didn't really hate him.
But I don't know if he was at the party though.
No, I don't think so.
But I remember
How many kids were there?
there was a sixth form. There was probably about like
Fucking
no,
hell.
there was in fairness there was probably about like 20 of us, 30.
Jesus Christ, that's amazing.
It was the A-level English class, basically.
Was that what it was?
Ah,
A-level
right.
English
So
class.
did you both
it
do
wasn't
English
too many,
together?
but it was sort of. I think we probably. I don't. Sixth form, it was weird because I just
Yes.
don't have any. It was quite. Oh Christ! I mean,
My biggest recollection of you in the sixth form was we had this indoor gym, right? And all
they
we'd see is like every
instituted
time
the dress code because of me.
what dress code?
The dress. Remember when in the second year, like we all had to start. We couldn't just show up, like wearing whatever
Jeans.
or
Oh, I
band
see.
t-shirts.
Is that because you were
Because
turning up in
I showed
Misfits
up wearing,
t-shirts
I was
and
obviously
ripped
wearing
jeans?
something. Somebody showed up in like a there was some other kid who was showing up in like carcass shirts, which is like
Was it
proper kind of
and
like,
disturbing the peace?
what was the and
Yeah.
but
I do-
I got the blame for it. It was my thing.
Wow.
You know. And
You going spoiling all the fun for everyone else
Yeah,
in their
I-
adult
but-
But
clothes.
sixth form was some of the best years of my life. I'm not going to I'm not going to joke about on that.
Hey,
that was like the first.
It was the only time I enjoyed school.
Yeah,
that was like up until then I had been bullied, buggered ridiculously by the big boys.
I hated all of it. I think I just got to that point where I suddenly realised, I think, in that particular place, I'm glad we're not actually naming the school, that
we will fucking name it.
Was it like Yew Tree High School?
Oh, it was Operation Harlington.
Oh dear.
The last Veal High School.
Harlington School. And if this is getting back, if any teachers are still in the game,
you need to beep out the
we
name.
We are making up stories of historic parties at their houses.
Yeah, sure.
Because that didn't happen. We're just making it up.
Mm-hmm.
And especially, did you ever go to Shep's parties?
No, I didn't. No, because like no, I never went to his parties.
You weren't a geography student. You weren't in a geography class.
I didn't do the geography.
I'd done
classes.
geography. I had to do geography. I didn't know what else to do.
I did history.
Who was that? Mr. Kerr.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Was he genuine? Was his name Wayne? Genuinely.
Everyone knows. Fuck off. That is a myth.
It was John.
His
name was John.
Okay, fine.
Yeah.
Everyone told me. I just believed anything anyone told me at school.
Yeah, I mean, was his name
really
Wayne?
Do you know
Kerr?
what he was absolutely like. He was really strict sort of. He was a really strict teacher, which is, and
was he a good kisser?